Oh my goodness, I am back. I don't know what was going on there, but I'm back. I tried 3 times and I had the same effect. For whatever reason, it wasn't working. But I'm back now, and so we'll just continue on. We're using the online exclusives called the Botanical Textures Suite Collection. And I'm going to do a square card for you tonight. I had someone watching. Hopefully she'll come back. But I'll just say that my name is Erica. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator living on the west coast of Canada. Welcome to my Facebook Live. I do this weekly on Thursday nights. Yes, thank you, Lena. On Thursday nights, I do projects from our current catalogs or a new product from our online store. And on Monday mornings, I do Mojo Monday, where I also introduce a different project. So welcome. So I don't want to talk too much about that because Lena was here before, and in kindness to her, we're just going to start with the project. So let me switch my camera here to my desktop, and I'm going to straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this is the stamp set that we're using. So it's part of a suite of products. You have a stamp set, and you have, and this stamp set, or this whole suite, is all about texture. So you get these fabulous set of dies. They're rectangles. We recently had some stitched rectangles, and sadly they have retired. So new customers can no longer get rectangles. And so Stampin' Up! Has just come out with these, and they've all got different patterns on them. So they're perfect for creating kind of a framed look on your card. And I've been having so much fun with them. And then you have this one long one here, which is perfect for one of the greetings in the stamp set, which says, "You are seriously the best." Okay, so you've got these beautiful set of dies. There are no dies to cut out any of these items here, but that's okay. This is part of the texture. It's a basket weave. And so you get 2 sets of papers. One is a set of kind of like basket related prints. So you've got this kind of a thing here, a basket weave. You've got this that looks like burlap. You've got this one that is another type of basket. Look at that deep, rich color. And then you've got this one, which would be great for a scrapbook page because it kind of shows you the bottom of a basket. And let's see what else is in here. And then you've got this. Oh, that's the same one. I think I've shown them all to you now. Yeah. And in this set of papers, you actually get 3 sheets of each. Oh, here's one more. This is kind of a neutral pattern here. And I've actually been stamping greetings on this rather than just on plain white or plain, say, very vanilla. You can actually stamp your greetings on a little bit of a texture. It's kind of a different way of doing your greetings. So that's a beautiful pack of paper. And the cardstock that coordinates is like you've got pecan pie, you've got gray granite, you've got crumb cake. You could pull in early espresso as well. And if you do your foliage in different greens, like mossy meadow, old olive, then you could use those for card bases as well. So it's a very versatile set of papers with lots of, neutral colors to choose from. The other pack of paper is black and white. Now, we're doing this card tonight, and I noticed that there is one leaf pattern in here that is not a stamp. We're stamping this one. This is the one in the pretty peacock here. So we're going to do that. But this one was actually fussy cut from the paper. Now, when you see this paper, it's a lot of fussy cutting. I mean, you're not going to want a fussy cut in these bits here inside the lines. You can go outside the lines a little bit, but that's a lot of fussy cutting. So I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm not going to spend the time doing that tonight. But one thing I wanted to mention about these papers is that you could either take your brayer and run some color over these, or you could actually just color them in. So if you wanted this as a background layer, then you could just fill in some color here with either your blends. So I've got these blends here because we're going to use these tonight. Or you could use your watercolor pencils. Yeah, lots of fun. Black and white is always fun to color. Okay, so that's the other pack of paper. And as you can see from this flyer here, there's lots of different patterns in here. Some with white backgrounds, some with black backgrounds. And there's some really interesting background pieces here. And then here it shows you the other patterns here. You can see the different patterns in here. Lots of kind of basket textures here. You also in the suite can order the ribbon. There's a beautiful, it's a polyester ribbon, but it's kind of textured. It's like linen. It's not linen thread, but it's kind of like a linen. It's just beautiful. And then you've got these embellishments here. You've got them in white. You've got them in black, in sort of like a basic beige. That's the other cardstock color you could use, is basic beige. And then it's got this pecan pie here. And these are nice because they're flat on the top, so they're not as high up on your cards. It's more of a low profile embellishment. Okay, so without further ado, I've got all my stamps mounted here, and I'm just going to lift my camera up so you can see a little bit more of what I've got going on here. Let me just straighten my camera and bring it back. There we go. Okay. All right, so we're starting off with I cut this. This is 10 inches by 5 width, 10 by 5. So it's pretty well a whole sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. There's scrap pieces left over, of course, that you can use. So that's a 5 by 5 card. And then the background is this paper here. So it's kind of like gray granite and black with a bit of white in here. And the Designer Series paper covers the entire card. So rather than cut it to 5 by 5, because you know, if you cut 2 pieces of paper that are supposedly the same size, sometimes they're not the same size. They're just off by a smidge. So rather than cut this ahead of time, I'm going to glue this directly to my card base, and then I'm going to trim it in my guillotine trimmer. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use my Tombow glue, and I'm going to try and get, oh boy, that came out. I'm going to try and get close to my edges. And I find it easier to put the glue on the card base itself. And then I'm going to line this up. And I'm just going to, I'm pushing, can you see my fingers pushing down? I'm just pushing that DSP down to the top of the card to make sure it's fully covering the front of that card. And you can take a bone folder just to smooth the glue out like that. Okay, so now the front of my card is covered. So now I'm going to pull out my guillotine. Now, we have a paper trimmer, and don't get me wrong, it's the best on the market, I think. But I still feel that you need a guillotine trimmer for a lot of reasons. It would be very hard to use your trimmer to trim this up. So I like to use a guillotine trimmer for this. So I'm going to line this up. Actually, I'm going to do this side first because I can get to the very top of the guillotine. See, I'm pushing this right to the top, and then I'm lining up my paper right on the edge there, and hopefully it's on the edge over here. I'm not over on the edge yet. There we go. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to hold it very tight, and I'm going to trim. Then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to trim it again. You can just adjust it just to get to the edge of that stock there. Okay, so now I've trimmed it so that it is completely covering the front of my card. And these, of course, you can use either on your envelopes or you can use it on the inside of your card. Okay, so there's our card front ready to go. All right, let's start doing some stuff. Now, we've got this layer. This is when I cut my designer series paper, I always cut them in strips of 4 inches by 5 1/4 because it makes the perfect layer for an A2 sized card. And on here, I'm going to use one of the dies because why not? I'm going to use the largest die, I think. I just want to see. Is it the largest die? No, that's too big. I'm going to use, I think I brought it out already, this die here. Because when I look at my project here, you see it's kind of over to the left-hand side of the card. We've got a more white space on the right side. So I just kind of want it that size. So I think this one will be perfect. And even though this is patterned, we should see the pattern of that die cut really well. Now, I was telling people on Monday morning when I was doing, and often when I'm doing my templates, when you want to cut out, use a die to cut something out, don't waste paper. So for example, if this was a circle as well as a rectangle, my suggestion is to center it on this piece of designer series paper so that when you cut it out, you're going to use this piece here for the current card, but then you'll have this beautiful frame to use on a second card. Rather than sort of cutting it out from the top left, you kind of waste it. Not unless your design of your second card, you kind of want it to look like that instead of centered. So that, and I might actually do that for a change. So you just want to think about using the DSP on a second card. Okay. That's one of my most commonly spoken tips, I think. So I'm just going to use some of this Post-it note tape, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. Okay, so you see this now I can use on another card. So I don't like to waste my designer series paper. All right, now you can, if you really look carefully, you can see the design in here. Okay, so this is going to go on here like that. Okay, that's our first thing. All right, we need to stamp. Now we're going to do, this is a fantastic stamp. It's kind of like the bottom of a basket. And it made me think of a laundry basket I had years ago. It was a big wicker basket. And this was what the bottom of the basket looked like here. So I'm going to stamp this. I'm going to use gray granite here. And I'm going to stamp it on white cardstock. Now, here's the curious thing I discovered. I haven't heard anybody else talk about this, but when I was looking very closely at this card, and I actually was looking at, I zoomed in on the website in the online exclusives to look at this card, and it looks like it was die cut, but we don't have any die cuts in this set for any of these images. So it was very curious because it's not a straight circle, which was interesting. So we don't have any die cuts. So I thought I would bring out my Deckled Circles dies, and I'm going to die cut it out of one of these Deckled Circles. Okay. Or you could use the Stylish Shapes dies as well if you wanted to. All right. So I've got a scrap piece of white paper here, and I'm going to do my gray granite. Now I might stamp this off because it might be a bit too dark. let's just do one and see. Actually, it's not too bad. So I think I'll do it. So I need 2 of these. And I'm going to use the deckled circles and cut them out. Okay. All right, so okay, that's too big. So I'm using the 3rd one from the center to cut that out. So I'll put a bit of tape on there. And this size of circle die will not leave any white edge, which is perfect. You'll just see the edges of the basket. Okay, so here I've got one circle. And let's just do this other circle now. And whenever I'm die cutting, I also think about, oh, do I want to die cut on the inside of my card? So then I might do a 3rd one or a 4th one. Okay, so here's another one. All right, so we've got those ready. Okay. Now, the next thing is we need to do the leaves. Now, I need another piece of cardstock. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're actually going to use the blender pen, blender pen. Yeah, blender pen. So this has no color in it. It's just a clear ink. And it is often used when you use your watercolor pencils to smooth out the lines. When you use pencil crayons, they create lines, if you notice, when you're coloring. And this blender pen smooths out those lines and gives a really nice smooth finish. The other thing it does, so let me grab, I want Pretty Peacock. The other thing it does, particularly with the darker inks, works great with the darker inks. So if I stamp this, you're going to notice that some of the leaves are going to be colored and others are not. You see that? So if I take my blender pen while the ink is still a little bit wet, I can actually pull the color in. You see from the outline, I'm just pulling in the color onto these other leaves. Now, if I can't pull in enough color, I can pick it up, say, from a dark leaf here and just color, or I can pick up some color directly from the ink pad, and then you can color. Okay. Now, you don't want to go over the cardstock too often because it'll start to pill. Because remember, this isn't watercolor paper, but you should be able to do a little bit. You see? So now I've colored in the white leaves a little bit. And if you wanted, you could blend over a bit of those little white spots in there. Just add a bit of color in there using your blender pen. Okay, so that's what I love about blender pen. To clean it, you just have to keep coloring until the color comes out. You see there's no more color coming out. And then you can keep using it. When you purchase this, you get a pack of 3 and they're double-ended. So you can do a lot of coloring with the 3 pens. All right, so there is our one set of leaves. Now, as I said, I don't want to fussy cut the paper, so I'm going to do another, use the same stamp, but I'm going to do it in Old Olive. So I need to clean my stamp here. So let me do that. Okay, so I'm going to be fussy cutting these out. So I'll do this one. Well, I'll just do it up here. So I'm going to do this one in green, in the Old Olive. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with my blender pen. I'm going to color in the white leaves, turning them a little bit green. Okay, I should have left this open. So again, I'm just filling in those little white spots. Okay. There we go. Okay. And then I'll just, I like to always clean it after I've used it, so then it's fresh for the next time I want to use it. All right, so we've got those 2 done. So I'm going to wait for those to dry a little bit. Next thing is we need the greeting. Now I've got a strip of paper here, and I'm going to do my greeting over here. So I'm using this long greeting that says, "You are seriously the best." And this is done in the Pretty Peacock. Which DSP do you think is gorgeous? The black and white or the other paper, Lena? Okay, let's do this. And we're going to be using this die right here. So it's got some stitching on it. So I just want to make sure, oh, I'll have lots of room there. Okay, let's put this on here. Now this is a very, very fine font. And I'm going to cut this out. It fits beautifully in here. So I'll go ahead and cut this out, and then I'll fussy cut those other 2 pieces. You know, it must be a difficult decision. The people that design these stamp set, it must be a difficult decision. What do we give dies to and what don't we? Which images will have dies and which will not? Okay, that's ready to go. Now, the other thing I noticed is that they've taken a piece of, you know, basic white. It doesn't matter the size. You're going to cut it down to be a strip that's going to sit underneath this greeting strip here. You're going to kind of layer them together along with a piece of the ribbon. So on this piece here, I'm going to again go to my gray granite. Is it gray granite? Yeah, gray granite. And there's another really cool stamp here that has more basket weaving on it. I'm not sure if you can see. Can you see that in the camera? It's got more basket weaving on it. Matches one of those other patterns. And I'm just going to, let me just grab a scrap piece of paper so I don't get ink on my glass mat. Let me just make sure I'm in camera view here. So I'm just going to stamp this. Oh, I've got, oh yeah, that's gray granite. Okay. I'm just going to stamp this. I'm going to do 2 layers on here. Like so. And I'm going to trim it down a little bit. So I just want to create a little pattern on here, and then I'm going to trim it. So let me just grab my mini trimmer here. I want to get rid of that white spot. Okay. So let's trim this up a bit. There we go. Okay. All right. Next thing, what do we need? Okay, we're going to need a strip of the ribbon. So here's the ribbon. I'm going to bring out my ribbon scissors. We're just going to cut. That's a pretty good edge there. Okay. All right. I think we're ready to start assembling, other than my fussy cutting. So let's do some assembly, and then I'll do some fussy cutting. And then we'll finish off the card. All right. So it looks like I'm going to position everything. So this is another tip that I use all the time when I'm designing a card. I kind of lay out my elements on my card to see where they're going to go. Now, what I've noticed is that they've used this stamp here. I love this little stamp. Look at this beautiful little flourish of leaves here. And it's a distinctive stamp. So you've got some dark leaves and some light leaves. And I noticed they're sticking out in the background, okay? So I'm going to, there's some down here and there's some over here. So let's get out, and I think they're done in the old olive. It's kind of hard to tell, but I'm going to use old olive. Okay, and it looks like they're stamped. They're not so dark. So I'm just going to stamp off, and then I'm going to do some right here. Okay, see that? And then I'm going to stamp off again. Hi, Christine. I had some technical difficulties tonight. And then I'm going to stamp some right here. Okay, so I've got 2 sort of leaf flourishes coming out on the sides here. All right, let's go back and put some elements on here. So this one is tucked underneath this layer here. And this is kind of on an angle. And then this one's going to come in here. Okay. And then we're going to have this piece on here. a little bit on an angle, looks like, and then we're going to have this kind of underneath it like that. And then we're going to have our greeting on top, something like that. Okay, but now I have to fussy cut, ladies. So yeah, watch for the beginning. And there's also on my earlier post, I quit. So I have to delete that post from my Facebook page. So you'll just see the one there. Okay, so let's do now. I'm not going to be so precise. I'm not going to go into all the grooves here. I fussy cut this for another card. And I don't fussy cut all the way down to that thin stem. I just kind of go in and then I'll come around and then I'll come up and around. Okay, and then I'll come here and go around. I'm trying to leave a tiny border. Then I'll come around in here. So again, I'm not going right down to that stem. I'm just turning around, going back up another leaf. You get the idea. So it shows that I've cut a little bit out, but not a lot. Still kind of looks like a die cut. Okay. So I'm going in, then I'm coming back out. I don't mind fussy cutting. What about you guys? What do you think about fussy cutting? I find it kind of relaxing. Going in, turning around, coming back up. And I find if you don't turn your scissors, but you turn your paper, you can cut more smoothly. So this is pretty well almost done. Okay. So there's one. And then we have to do the other one. So Lena, you don't, okay, so Christine, you don't mind it, but wouldn't want to do a ton of it. No, I agree. Lena probably feels the same. She doesn't mind it either. And of course, some things are a lot easier to fussy cut for sure. And it's also easier if you trim your paper. You don't want paper getting, I don't like it when the paper gets caught up in this section here of my thumb, because then it doesn't give me the freedom to move around. So I like to trim, start off by trimming close to the image and then do your fussy cutting. So let me know what stamp sets so far are your favorite on the pre-order for Stampin' Ups. Stampin' Up demonstrators get to order before customers do so that they can prep. So let me know what your favorite is. There's lots of flowers again, but I don't complain about flowers ever. I always think, oh, I've got lots of flower sets, I'm not going to get that one. Then the minute I see projects being made, I go, okay, yeah, maybe I should have got that one. Plus, I love mixing and matching, like, if we get a daisy set 1 year and then 2 years down the line, you get another daisy set, you can just put them together and then you get way more versatility with your designs. I love going into my stash. I do get rid of a lot of stuff, but I keep sort of some of my favorites. And also stamp sets that have elements that are commonly used, like pots or baskets or the moon or clouds, or I like to kind of keep those, or like a little truck, or because you never know when you're going to need those little elements. And animal sets. I like to hang on to my animal sets too. Okay. Oh, geez. I didn't mean to go over my card. Okay, let's just set all that stuff aside. Okay, now we can put our card together. All right. So again, we've got this piece, and we're going to tuck this piece underneath. Let me pull out my picture again. Here's the one I'm doing. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to grab my tape runner. I'm just going to put a bit of tape on the side of that. Whoops. Okay. Now, there's nothing underneath this piece, so I can now, when you're casing, you don't have to do things exactly. So if as you turn this paper over, you go, oh, I kind of like that paper better, that pattern better, you can always change it. Okay, so I'm watching these leaves here that are on the sides, and I'm going to put that on like that. Okay. And then I think we're going to layer all this stuff up. So the next thing are the leaves. So the green is kind of on this here. Now, I do this a lot. I like to pop up some of my leaves so that they stand out from the card. Maybe I should zoom in a little bit. Come down a bit closer. There we go. I need that light. Let's stick something on there. I have to go backwards. It's so awkward. There we go. I'll just put this on here. There we go, just so you don't get that light in your face. Okay. So what I do is I'm going to take two sort of prominent leaves at the top, and I'm going to put our mini dimensionals are perfect for this. I'm just going to put two mini dimensionals on there like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Tombow glue, and I'm going to glue, just down towards the bottom. Okay, so this is going overlapping this. I'm going to call it a coaster. It kind of looks like a coaster. Put that on there like that. Okay, so now my leaves are lifted up from the base of the card. Okay, so now this one's going to go overlap like this. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals on two of these leaves and a bit of glue. So this one's going to go kind of like this. You wouldn't think Old Olive and Pretty Peacock would go well together, but it does. I think they're really pretty together. Look at that. Okay. Now, oops, I made a boo-boo. This ring was supposed to go underneath these two. Might be too late now. Well, maybe I can get it under this one. Yeah, I made a boo-boo. I'm just going to, oh yeah, I can get that under that one. Yeah, that was my mistake. Wasn't watching my layering. That'll work. Nobody will know the difference. All right, now we've got these things to start layering. So I am sure that my greeting needs to go on some dimensionals. So let's grab some of these for this long greeting. I'm trying to stay in camera view. I'm going to put quite a few on this piece so it doesn't sag in the middle. Okay. We'll get this ready to go. Okay, so the greeting is ready. Okay, so now we need this piece here. And we need the ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of glue dots on this ribbon here. So let me just grab those. So here's some really small little glue dots here. And I'm just going to put a few on here. And I usually just poke them down with my pokey tool just to get them to really stick to the fabric. And then hopefully I can get them off. So I'm just poking to get them to stick and then poke it off. Okay. All right, so we're going to put this on. Just going to put it on like that. Okay. And then I'm going to take this strip and put this on. This is still really too big. I think I need to cut this down again. I just grab my trimmer. This is too wide, I think. So I can save a strip and use it on another project. Look at that. Okay, and I'm going to just trim off. Now that didn't trim straight, and I don't care. It's a little bit on the crooked side, but the greeting's going to go on top. Okay, so I want this above there, so I'm just going to glue that. I'm overlapping the ribbon a little bit, like so. I'm just going to hold that down a bit. And then last but not least is the greeting. And then we're going to add a few little embellishments, and then we're going to be done. Now, of course, I'll have to handmade an envelope. So I still have my envelope punch board that I still love to use. Okay, and this is going to overlap too. And it's a little bit crooked the other way. There we go. Okay. Got lots of little bits to clean up afterwards. All right, let's put on some of these embellishments here. And I noticed that they're using the white ones, which I haven't used hardly at all. So I'm going to use the other end of my Take Your Pick tool. Let's put this one on so I don't poke myself. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to try and follow on the diagram here. So we've got one. And I just push. I love this tool. I'm pushing with my putty end. Now, see, my putty end is not the Stampin' Up! Putty end. I don't like the Stampin' Up! Putty end, to be honest with you, because it's not strong enough. And whenever I pushed with it, it would just, or try to pick up anything, it would stick terribly to the embellishment. I couldn't get it off. So this is that tacket stuff that, I mean, it became really popular in the 70s when we were putting posters up on our walls in our rooms. So it's that, it's kind of like a putty, and it comes in strips. So I just took some of that, and I've had this on here forever. So it's a little bit more solid, but it's got some stick to it, and then it works great. Okay, so I'm going to take one of these and put this here. And I'm going to put one here. I'm not going to follow the pattern. I'm going to do my own thing. Okay, and then I think we have a couple more. We have one here. And then I have a smaller one down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just press them down. Make sure they're stuck. Okay, ladies, there's the card. I think I've got everything on there. So there's the 5 by 5 card. Yeah, they do scream summer. The Notes and Totes and the Sailboat one. Yes, that Sailboat one is something else, especially the embossing folder. It's like the whole scene. And the Notes and Totes. Yeah, I think I remember that one in there. Yeah, I have to look at that too. So I've got an order going. But I also saw a video today of somebody using herbs. Forget what it's called now, but there's 4 herbs: rosemary, basil, something and something. And it comes with an interesting set of dies. So I'm kind of attracted to that one too. Anyway, there you go. There is your card for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will delete the other video, and then you'll see this online. And then I will be posting it to my YouTube channel. Last Monday is still not up yet, but it will be very shortly. So I just want to come back and say thank you for joining me. And I hope you enjoyed tonight's Case the Catty. And we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you, Lena.